So it's good to have you back with me, students, and we're going to start with your guide, your study guide. Yeah, we are heading towards exams or examinations, and it's an exciting moment of, preparation towards that goal. When we started, it looked like it is not going to come. It might have looked that way to you, but it's just nearing that end. Previous presentation, I also brought to your attention the new way that students are assessed. And I showed you the slide that had information from the lecturer, Dr. Shange, when she said to me that I should really spend more time helping students with essay writing. So we're going to be doing just that, essay writing. I also had shown you previously how the question paper was structured. It was ENG1503 before being changed to ENG1503. I've shown you the structure, that how students would write summatives or summative examinations and how students were expected to respond. And I also showed you the 3 sections of the question paper. That's pre-COVID. Now we are in COVID, and the way of assessing students has slightly changed. And with that, I really was advised that to spend more time helping students with essay writing or academic essay writing. And I'm doing exactly that with you. Last week, when I was working with you, not by myself, of course, with you, working with you on these writing studies, we were able to see the importance of planning, all right? And that writing is a process, and in it, or in the process, we plan. And following the plan, we also do what in the wheel was written as pre-writing activities. And the pre-writing activities, if you remember, would include things such as analyzing the topic, making sure you understand what you are asked to do. Identify the instructional verbs. You are instructed to do something. I also highlighted that students would miss other instructions that are there in the topic. When they are choosing a topic, they might see one section of the topic and miss the other part. So I highlighted the importance of, analyzing the topic. I also said in an exam, you do not have a time to gather information because it's an exam and you write it under examination conditions. So you only have time to do what? To generate ideas that are related to the topic of your choice. Okay, so that's what we did in our pre-writing phase of in the writing wheel. We said that generating ideas is very important, like, brainstorming ideas that are relevant to the topic that you would have chosen in the exams is very important activity. And we also said that the ideas are not only generated by students in the exam. And of course, if you are writing a research essay, it is not only about generating your ideas, it's also about gathering ideas from the sources because you are doing research. So we spoke about that, and we said, having done that, what do you do with the ideas? You then organize them. You organize those ideas. In other words, you arrange them in a manner that is logical, and it would make sense, and it will cause your writing to flow. We said organizing ideas is very, very important. And only after that phase can we then go into the drafting phase, all right, of writing, like producing a draft essay, so to speak. So today, we're going to do that, exactly that. We're going to produce a draft essay. But again, with that, you do not jump into the whole essay. We are going to be very systematic. We're going to be very, very much orderly in doing it. We'll start right where we should start, with the introduction. And we will talk about the introduction talk about it, and get it right. I really want to encourage students, if you can make time during the week, it's just you making time. Of course, I know there's data challenges, but if you do have, join. Ausmaile puts invites on the I think she puts them. She communicates all the time. She communicates this information about workshops. I do the undergraduate workshops on reading and writing, and they are very exciting workshops. They are much more comprehensive workshops on reading and writing, trying to assist as an accolade facilitator students with their reading and writing. So join in during the week with join us there, where we would talk writing, because most of your modules would require that you write and write in a structured way. So join in. There is such activity going on during the week where students can attend workshops for 2 hours as well and engage with reading and writing further. It's much more comprehensive, as I have said. But now I wanted us to start, before switching to drafting as what we're focusing on this week or this Saturday. I want us to just take a walk together through the tutorial letter. This is your study guide. Let's look at it together. It's showing on your screen, I suppose, just to see what we have been doing, if it's something that is here as in the guide. And those are our, it's not important what we are doing now. That's the table of contents. We have all of these things that we were working with. We started with integrating reading and writing. If you've joined us today and it's your first session, we have done Learning Unit 1, integrating reading and writing, and there were things that were said there, and the audios, rather the recordings, I think they are available. You can extract them and hear how that was presented. And I think we did 2 sessions on integrating, 1.5 sessions in fact, on reading and integrating reading and writing. We did that together, and we're busy now with reading and writing in academic context. You know, we're doing essay type part 1, essay types part 1, and genre awareness essay type part 2. And so what I've done, the slides that I have prepared have actually integrated the 2 units in one. But I'll come back to Learning Unit 3 just to give you a sense of a few things. But the bulk of the content in Unit 3 is captured in this presentation that I'm doing. All right, so just taking you through this. So there are lots of tasks. I'll come back to this. Genre of expository writing, genre of writing a discussion, what is a discussion, etc. Research-based essay, will come to that unit as well. So what I've done, I've merged Unit 2 with 3. So we presenting concurrently, but some ideas there may not come out very strongly. They're not very emphasized. Unit 3 ideas. So I will try and get them just specifically worked through, the ideas that I may not have emphasized in the integrated sessions on Unit 2 and 3. I might have them treated separately later on. But there you'd also have Unit 4. We've not yet done research-based essay writing, and I think this will help you in your studies. It may not be helping you now with your assignments because already you have submitted. If you also have received feedback. Oh, and also speaking of feedback, I'm receiving emails. I think now I have about 4 or 5 students' emails on feedback they received. I do not yet, let me phrase it in this way. I will definitely work on those emails, students. Do not say I am just muted and on your feedback, and I'm not saying a thing, and I encourage you to do the submissions, and I'm not coming back to you. It is not that I do not notice these emails. I do, and I am going to attend to your emails one by one, and I will give you time and explain things that need to be explained. But also, I would love that we would spend time, one-on-one on each of your emails. It's the content of your emails, especially if it's writing. We look at that together. I'll come to that point. There will be a time that I will be allocating attention to strictly that. At the moment, I am engaging in quite a number of engagements that are really taking a lot of my attention and time, but I will then switch to those emails at a particular time. So do not think I have not noticed. I have seen the emails. I have seen that students have sent those emails. I can call them by name, but it's not necessary. But I acknowledge receipt of your emails, students, those who have sent through their assignments, or not even assignments, but just their writing, that we could examine how they have done in their writing activity. Fine. So these are some of the things. So I want to just take you through this so that you see that what we're doing, it's guided but by your by the content. Although we go out of these content at some time, but it's guided by this. We work within the framework of the outlines given by or given in your study guide. So we did decoding. I mean, the word decoding, the term was explained, if you remember, writing conventions, the rules, when you do writing, especially academic writing, it uses conventions. So we touched on that as well. And just to take you through this, purpose of writing. Writing is choice of words in your writing is informed by the purpose. Do you want to inform? Do you want to entertain? Do you want to, and your audience as well play a very important role in your word choice as well. So the purpose is very important to think through. What am I writing for, or who am I writing to? Okay, and the writing strategies: previewing, reading, summarizing, reviewing. So these strategies we discussed in our previous presentations, just to at least give you a refresher of things that were happening in our previous sessions. Reading and writing, integrating reading with writing. I also said here that we cannot become accomplished writers if we do not read. Fine. So we have also worked with the article. I remember showing an article. We discussed in that the different texts. Worked with that as well. We worked with that. And also digital writing and reading and writing strategies, showing how to use information that is saved on your computer or laptop to read, and without having to take pen and put ink on paper, how to highlight information that is important, how to organize it, and also sharing information with fellow students using information that is here either online or offline, just so that you can see how you can gather information from a source offline or online without necessarily having to print stuff out, and work with a hard copy. You can still use soft copies to read and prepare your assignments quite effectively. And digital writing strategies, did that. You can see here this area where you could actually have your comments written on what I've shown you. I demonstrated this as well in our previous sessions. If you remember, we did these things in our tutorial sessions. Reading and writing in academic context, essay part 1. Then what did we do? Of course, the reading strategies, we looked into that. Okay, good readers. Yeah, I spoke about things such as critical reading or reading against the text and reading with the text. This is all on reading. I spoke about skimming, if you remember, in scanning, and what you do when you're skimming. Annotations, a very important part. The reading strategy SQ4R method as a strategy, as a reading strategy, could be used. That involves surveying the text, asking yourself questions, predictive questions as well, reading the text and reciting even the text if you like, and reviewing if what you say about the text or what you have actually thought about the text post-reading is actually what the text, the actual text says. So you're comparing your notes with what is in the original text. So the XQ4R method of reading is also important, not only for this module, but you apply it in other modules which require reading and writing. And we also have, we not work with this one. Okay, I'm just, navigating through this sky so that you could see that this is what is happening. This is now the language choice, or you're thinking here of the audience, how you choose your words or language when you write into a friend or you write into a supervisor, someone who is supervising your work, lecturer at university who is supervising your work. So you do that. You think of choosing formal structures when you talk or you write to a person who is perhaps not a friend or in certain positions, and the language choice would not be the same as with a friend or a companion. So you have here writing for audience and purpose. Audience, who am I writing to and for what purpose? Very, very important things to think through before you start writing, especially when you have chosen a topic. We are going to talk expository essay even more, the format of an expository essay even more. And even in Unit 3, this comes back there as well, expository essay. But what is important is the format of an expository essay. As I've said, how to do it, how to write it, etc. And this is the format, but we haven't spoken or discussed this yet. We are going to do it. The writing process. In fact, I felt that it's important that this be emphasized, the writing process, that students know that writing is a process. It's not is a product of a process. And this is the process. We actually started here, number one, planning, number 2, pre-writing. We're now here at drafting. So we're going to get into drafting soon after I have taken you through some of the things here. Pre-writing phase, we spoke about this pre-writing phase, we discussed it, presented information on it. On pre-writing phase, planning is the first phase of writing. In the writing wheel, we plan, and so this is the thing that we did. Now we're going to do drafting, and you can see this is where we will be in terms of drafting. What is it that we should do? We come into that point, and also we're going to do peer review. It's all embedded in this, but we will do it step by step. I like those concepts there, the two very, very key concepts I haven't highlighted, but on the other guide I've highlighted key areas like coherence and cohesion. See, these are very important, and it's not only limited to this module. You want all your writing to be coherent and cohesive. So you have that, tips for revising. See, if you're editing, you're not doing the same thing as revising. What do you do when you're editing? And it's part of the writing wheel. And what do you do when you're proofreading? You're not doing the same thing. Proofreading is different from editing, and it's also different from revising. Okay, we'll try to get into each of those activities, the post-writing activities. Okay, argumentative essay I spoke about. I mentioned expository essay, but here we have argumentative essay. So we'll distinguish these two essays. How is argumentation written or formed or formulated, and how is expository writing formulated? So we will talk the two essay genres and see how they differ, and how do you approach each of them. Look at the structure. I think it's the format. This would be a format. Yes, part of it is here. An argumentative essay, fact, opinion, argument. This is dealing with argumentative. We'll get to argumentative essay. And students, this cannot be in your guide or module just for the sake of being there. It means at some point when you are assessed, these questions or topics would be based on writing either argumentative or expository or cause and effect, or a research essay. Already you have seen that, you have been exposed to it already, but they are there because they will be assessed. But engaging with them further is important, one by one or step by step. And so we're going to deal with that in this time allowing. So we're now going to be working with a draft, cause and effect essay, cause and effect essay, how to do a cause and effect essay. And now this would be genre awareness, type of essay awareness. The word genre refers to a type of text. Genre, type of text, genre of music, type of music, genre, hip hop, gospel. There's different genres there. Even writing has genre of writing, where you talk essay, argumentation essay, or expository essay, cause effect. They follow different formats. You'll see the formats as we dwell much deeper into each of the genres, but we'll get there. Right, now I'm going to unshare this tutorial guide. You've seen that what we're doing is actually guided by this. Someone last week said to us, yes, you see this logical connectors or this link or signpost words, they are there, but they are not as comprehensive. And I then showed you a much more comprehensive slide on logical connectors or link words or signpost words or direction markers. We call them either any of those four, such as furthermore, in addition, consequently, similarly. Those are your direction markers or link words, or they perform a particular function, but the core function that these words do is to give your writing cohesion. It's to give your writing unity, or give your writing, make your writing stick together. Okay, fine. So I would like to pause there, and then I would then share the presentation. Okay, I'll then share the presentation. I'll unshare this one and then go to the presentation. Okay, students, so far, how do we feel? We're getting some overview of our module. Don't want to spend much time on that. We'll keep coming back to the guide to see how it links with the slides that I show you, students. So I'm unsharing now the study guide, or the study guide, and I'm sharing the presentation. So we worked with creating a plan and pre-writing, topic analysis, gathering ideas or generating ideas and organizing them. Number 2, in the writing wheel. And now we're here drafting. We're going to draft now. So what do? We're going to use these notes that we have in our gathering or generating ideas and how we would have arranged them in our planning, and then organize the writing into paragraphs when we're now drafting. Each paragraph includes its own topic, sentence, and at this stage we are not much focused on correcting our mistakes, and we are going to ensure that our ideas have a flow. By flow we mean logical flow, we mean coherence. All right, that, and as you read, there is a flow of ideas, and we're going to use the outline as a guide. So use an outline or mind map of your main idea as a guide in drafting your essay. Of course, you would have generated that mind map here, and you would have organized your ideas here. So you're going to follow that in your draft, support or develop main ideas. So you're going to have your main ideas supported or developed in your writing. Fine. So we then move to we've done topic analysis. We looked into the rubric topic analysis. So I am skipping these slides because we're done with these slides. Okay, I want to move to drafting now. About the audience and purpose of writing, who is going to read, and why am I including this that I'm including? Am I intending to persuade, inform, or entertain? Right, so we have here the slide on drafting, expository essay writing, and argumentative writing, essay writing. So we're going to get into drafting, and either an expository essay or argumentative essay. That's our starting point. We cannot do that unless we know what is argumentative writing, or what is expository writing. We need to get there. But either way, if you are writing an expository essay or an argumentative essay, the structure has to be there, because academic writing has structure, or is structured. Look at the structure, beautiful structure. Can I say, think about a burger. I love burgers. I love them. When you eat them, they must remind us of an essay. They must remind us of an academic essay. How so? Look, let's assume this triangle is the top bun of the burger, and the bottom triangle is the bottom bun of a burger. And the middle part, and look at the middle part, they are proportionate to each other. Okay, very interesting, because these are paragraphs in the body of your essay. And notice that this and this, the two triangles are similar. The only difference is one is facing down, the other is facing up. But I say we call the triangles top and bottom bun of a burger. Now, what is in the middle? What is in the middle is the ideas that are developed. You see, they are developed in each paragraph, and you have this. You cannot have an academic essay, in other words, you cannot have academic writing, especially in this module, which consists of just one line or one word paragraph. Well, in creative writing, I could have one word paragraph like absolutely, with an exclamation mark at the end, and I skip, and I then have two more lines, another paragraph. So my paragraphs are not structured in creative writing. All right, in creative writing, when I write a creative, I create a story, I create an event in my imaginations, and I put it down in the form of creative essays. So the structure of paragraphs would not be the same as the structure of a paragraph in a structured academic writing, academically written essay or text. It's much more structured. So what is in the middle? It's all the ideas that were introduced here, and they are developed in the body paragraphs, but they are held together by the introduction and conclusion, the top and bottom. And so everything, when you eat a burger, you eat it together. You eat it together. Imagine if there are minor particles of stone in it. You see, when you eat a burger, I love it, but some don't eat it like that, like I do. I have everything held in both hands, okay? And I eat it as one piece, all right? And I chew everything together. And that's how I taste it, as something very delicious, because I do not separate the little bits and pieces of the burger and eat them separately. No, I eat it together. Now imagine if there's particles of little dust, stone, and other things that are just not supposed to be there. You just stop eating because you just chewed something that is unpalatable, something very bad. So what do? You now put it away because it's not as it was supposed to be. You see, imagine your essay having those little pellets, little things that are not supposed to be there. And imagine you eat it as a burger. You have a picture of having it as a burger in your mind, and you eat it and you just come across something that was not supposed to be there, is there. You quickly feel that this is not supposed to be there, and that makes you stop, check what's happening here. I just came across something which is not supposed to be there. That's where now the flow of chewing and eating and chewing and swallowing is disrupted. Now, the flow of the reading of your essay is also disrupted by ideas that are unrelated to the topic or are unrelated to what you are writing on in a paragraph. Something unrelated, unsuitable can disrupt the flow of your essay, just as it disrupts the eating, chewing, and so as one thing. So everything must taste together. So you are going to write a burger essay, students. What do we mean by that? It's an essay that flows together. The ideas flow together. And the ideas in each paragraph here, they are really based on the topic, but they are really addressing the topic, sentence, or main idea of that paragraph, main idea of each paragraph here. And they are well developed. And in so doing, you do not have any strange thing placed here in this paragraph, or strange, unrelated something just thrown in. No, you want to be, this is neat, and this looks very neat, tidy. Look at the structure, it looks very neat and tidy, and it should apply to both expository and argumentative writing. Neat, 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 neat structure. Some essay, they miss this. Some essay, they just miss this part here. So they have the top part, but the bottom triangle, the bottom bar is missing. Okay? Or others, they miss some of the stuff, that the juicy stuff in the middle there. All right, they have this, they have that. But the juicy stuff here is not there. Imagine this scenario again, students. You know, those who are in metric or maths or maths, know the different shapes. Imagine an introduction here is the shape of a rectangle, all right? And the conclusion here is the shape of a triangle. Something is wrong, because the two are not talking to each other. Or a pentagon and a rectangle. That's where now already you can tell from reading the intro and conclusion immediately that something is wrong. The two are not gelling, the two are not connecting, they are not shaped the same way. So what you start with is summed up in the concluding paragraph. And so we cannot divorce the two. And the two hold together the whole essay, because the ideas that are introduced are developed here. That's the structure. Okay, that's the what we call a macro structure. You see, very important for both argumentative and expository. I just wanted to start with the structure, just so that we start off nicely with regard to this. Okay, remember I said we're working now with drafting. We are drafting. We do draft systematically by having students understand that there is structure, and the structure should not be compromised. The structure should not be tampered with. It should be, think of it that way. Is your introduction corroborating your conclusion? Or are they divorcing? Okay, one is a pentagon shape and the other is a triangle or rectangle. Is it that way? It shouldn't. What about body paragraphs? Is it one line body paragraph and another paragraph is 10 lines? There's no symmetry. All right, think about those things. The structure has to take preeminence, and it should be a structure of an academic text, you know, not a structure that we would use when we write an email to a friend. Okay, because it is structured. Academic writing is structured. It's one feature of academic writing. When you write an essay here or in other modules that you have registered for, when you write an essay there or a paragraph, it must be fit for, it must reflect the feature of structure. It must reflect that feature. It's very, very important one indeed. So still in the drafting, because we cannot draft what we do not have. What is the basis of drafting? Is us knowing that essays needs to have structure. Is us knowing the difference between expository and argumentative. These are not the only genres. There are others. But let's start with expository. What expository does. What argumentative essay does. So we're still in the drafting phase. So we're discussing here the expository essay and how the two differ, so that when we choose a topic, we are very deliberate and we know here I'm going to write an expository essay or I'm writing an argumentative, and we're doing it from a position of strength, deliberately knowing that I am going to write it this way. The format is going to be this way. Okay, so let's look at expository essay. What do you do? Here, you exploring. All right. Can you imagine when you are exploring a phone? Okay, maybe a phone is much more complex. Let's take something, an object. When you take an object and you're exploring it, what do you do to it? Okay, let's just discuss that. What are you doing to the object when you're exploring it? Take maybe a precious stone, or a piece of something valuable, or you are getting into a furniture store, you're exploring some furniture items there. What do you do when you explore? Anyone? Because expository essay, when we doing that essay, writing that essay, we're exploring the topic. What do we do there when we explore? Let me check with students on just that one. Students, what are your inputs? Exploring. What do we do when we explore? Think of something that is in your hand, you are holding it, and you are exploring it. Could be a watch. It could be a precious stone or something valuable to you. When you're exploring it, what do you do? What are you doing to it?
Also, I take it that you are looking at the different facets of the object and its composition.
Beautiful. Excellent. Looking at the different facets. Tell me, how do you do that in writing? Because that's what you do when you are writing an expository essay or a discussion essay. You see? So, are you taking sides when you are basically, or are you taking obvious sides? Or rather, let me put it this way. Are you taking an obvious position when you are exploring, when you are looking at the different facets of, or different sides of a topic? Are you doing that, students? When you are discussing or exploring? You definitely not, because yes, I like the word facets. It's sides. Look at different sides, so that imagine when you bring out an issue from different sides, you show us this side. Let me just take the cardinal points for illustration. You show us the east side, the west side, the south side, and the north side of the topic. Now, as the reader, of your essay, I come out of that reading knowing, empowered, knowing what this is about. Okay? And if I were to choose a side, I would choose a side having evaluated all the sides without neglecting any side. So when you discuss, you don't miss a side. You want to really explore. You want to really try and cover as much so that the reader knows what they are dealing with. At least they can take or make an educated choice or decision or conclusion out of this exploration. They can arrive at an educated conclusion or decision rather on the matter. That's what you do when you are writing an expository essay. You look at different sides. You're not just looking at I'm now going back to the slide. Thank you very much, Lefa. You are exploring many angles. Look at that. It says many angles of a topic. Now, it is important to know the topic you're choosing. In your analysis, topic analysis, determine or establish if this topic is a topic that requires a discussion or expository writing, or is a topic that requires formulation of an argument from one angle. Okay, so determine, make a choice that is very deliberate right from the topic. Start with the topic analysis so that you know what you are going to do. Imagine if you do not understand that you need to explore when you write this type of essay, you wouldn't stick to that. You wouldn't really do it or do justice in your writing because you are not aware of the modus operandi. Yes, Mrs. Go ahead.
Oh, yes. So, well, I wanted to say exploring is like examining or investigating something systematically.
Beautiful. Well said. Examining, investigating something. When you examine, of course, it's the same. You want to see those different facets of the thing that you're examining. Thank you very much. When you're investigating, you really want to check and see the different sides of the topic you are investigating. So thank you very much for putting it so clearly and differently, yet saying the same thing as what Lefa had said. Thank you for putting it in different language. I appreciate your inputs, gentlemen. I really do. All right, let's look further into the slide showing. I hope it is still showing on your screen. It says here, look at this one. You choose a position for or against something. I think that is pretty obvious. It's either you are in favor of the topic or you are against, and you want to really ensure the side that you have chosen is the side that is really elaborated upon, is the side that is favored, is the side that is well supported, well developed, convincing side, this one side that I am taking, and that I would convince the reader to really stick with me on my side. You persuade them. So I'm writing this essay with that approach in mind. Hope that becomes clearer. Let's look further into expository writing. You see, here you tend to explain, to illustrate. I'm reading here. To illustrate, clarify. Someone said investigate. When you investigate, you want to clarify an issue that is hidden, maybe. You want to unpack it, make it clear to people so that they become knowledgeable on the issue or about the issue that you are explicating or explaining or making clear to the reader. You want to make it clear. It must become clear for the reader. So you are given a topic. You think about the information from both sides of the topic, not just one side. Unlike in the argumentation, where you look at one side, but here you look at both sides of the topic. In fact, if it has multiple sides, you can actually even go there. But then you look at not just one side, you look at exploring many angles of the topic. In simple language, both sides, not one side, as you do in argumentative essay. Hope that is clear. Now, where does this take us? It takes us to the analysis of the topic. What genre of writing am I going to do? If I've chosen a topic, am I doing an argumentative writing or expository writing or a discussion or cause effect? Of course, there are all those other genres that you may think of. And how do I do it? How am I going to do it? Okay, it's a very important question that you ask. Now, the next point of difference between expository and argumentative essay is this: thesis statement. I'm not going to explain thesis statement now, but remember, when you're drafting, you must have a thesis statement there. Thesis statement presents the writer's topic. So here you sort of like presenting the topic, that you restate the topic using your own words in the introduction. Of course, the thesis would be located in the introduction. Look, what do you do in the introduction? You state the thesis statement. What do you do in the conclusion? You restate. So I'm not saying state, you restate the thesis statement. So you state it in the intro, you restate it in the concluding paragraph, right? So that you give it a similar taste, you know, the shapes are the same. You saw the shapes of introduction and conclusion. So thesis statement presents the writer's topic. That's what you do when you're writing a thesis or producing a thesis statement for an expository essay, discussion essay. And what about a thesis statement of an argumentative essay? Here, you present your point, your position, right? In other words, your position on the topic. So it's the topic and your stance on the topic. Okay, all right, let's take a topic. An obvious topic could be let's take a topic like higher education should be free in South Africa, should be made free in South Africa. Higher education should be made free in South Africa. That's the topic. Now, if you are writing an argumentative essay intro or a thesis statement for this one, you would say, you would express something that shows that you agree or disagree. Okay, that's your stance, that's your position on the topic. So that takes the reader immediately to where you stand on the topic itself. But it's because the topic requires that you write an argumentative response. And so you give us where you stand on the topic. And so you have this structure of a thesis statement. Let me, still talking about a thesis statement, let me just jump to a thesis statement, an example of a thesis statement, students. I'm not going to deliberate on it much. I'm just showing you a quick example of a thesis statement. A thesis statement, I'll come back to this slide. Look at it. This is the topic and the controlling idea. All right. So it's the topic and the controlling idea. In other words, the ideas that would control or which will inform the presentation of ideas in the essay itself. So you're doing that. So you have that. You know it, as we said in the expository essay here, that the thesis statement presents the writer's topic. So you present that and you show us the direction that you are taking in the essay itself. But that is with the expository essay. And I have an example there, which I do not want to share now, but we will get there when we get there. What about a thesis statement of an argumentative? I said here you take a stand on a particular topic. It's either you agree or disagree, etc., because you are writing an argumentative response. Let's look at further properties or characteristics of the two essays comparatively. we look at the next point being expository essay is an exposition, an investigation with the purpose of clarifying, right? And so it is very neutral. As you're clarifying a point, you are taking a very neutral stance on the topic. You're not one-sided, you are balanced, neutral, and you are actually just ensuring that you look at that topic from both sides, not just one side, or you exploring the different angles of the topic so that the writer, rather the reader, becomes well informed, or the issues are clarified that are related to the topic. And you cannot do that adequately if you have taken a side, because you would be focusing on just one side. Here you are neutral with regard to an expository essay. You are neutral, you are objective, you are objective. You are not subjective. When you're subjective, you're one side. Neutral, you are objective. You don't take, it's almost like you want to hear both sides. If you look at the scales of justice, all right, they are heavy. You have two sides on the scales of justice, isn't it? And usually when they are shown on pictures, they are shown as balanced. There's no one side which is weightier, which weighs more than the other sides. Otherwise, it's going to be unbalanced. In fact, that balance you see on the scales of justice is the balance that you strike when you write an expository or a discussion essay, students. But still using the same analogy of the scales of justice, let's now take those scales to an argumentative writing. Now, in the argumentative writing, the scales are tilting. The scales are tilting. All right. They tilt towards one side. It becomes weightier. It becomes stronger than the other side. Okay. So you'll have a different shape there because one side has more weight than the other. Now, what does that mean? It means that this argumentative essay is one-sided, just as when we use the illustration of scales of justice, you would see one side having more weight than the other. I hope that illustration strikes the beautiful balance, rather beautiful clarification for students to see the difference between expository and argumentative writing, just using the scales of justice. Don't tilt them either side if you are writing expository writing or doing expository writing, but when you're doing argumentation, you are going to have one side tilting over the other, and one side having more weight than the other. That's argumentative writing. I think the scales of justice does this beautifully, right? Further, right, maybe looking at this side, you take a clear position about something. There is no issue of objectivity or neutrality because you are subjective. Lastly, it is written in the first person if you like, whilst this one is in the third person, but that is not very essential. But what is important is how we characterize the two in the points that I have already mentioned. And I think the picture is building, and it becomes clearer how these two differ. And we're still in the drafting phase. But before we can draft, we need to have a firm grasp on the things that we need to do when we are drafting. I cannot just give you a topic and say draft. No, what are you drafting? No, it won't work, students. I must first lay the foundation so that your draft is built on a very firm foundation. I give you two topics. You need to decide, is it going to be an argument, a writing topic, or is it going to be an expository writing topic? So you make a decision there. Now, having to draw that line in the sand that distinguish the two is important, that this is on this side and that is on the other side, and how they are the two forms of writing, the two genres, types of writing. Expository essay. Now, we're no longer comparing the two. we now, if you like, zooming into expository right now. We're getting into the details of expository essay. We will get into details of argumentative essay. Let's first start with expository essay. And you are not writing, okay? You are not writing. But just a brain teaser, just a brain teaser. Let me give students a brain teaser. Students, wait for my brain teaser, and I hope it's going to tease students. I would like that it does accomplish the results that I hope it will. I'm going now to the question papers, and I'm taking very old question paper. And I just want to see what's happening in this question paper. And if I like it, I will then show it on your screen. And just to get you thinking about something. What are you going to do when you are faced with this in an exam? Obviously, I suppose you will do what? The pre-writing activity, because it's a process, isn't it? You have to start where you should start. But then I want you to take me through that. I mean, think of these topics. What type, what genre of writing are you required to produce? What genre of writing are you required to produce in writing, in addressing these topics? What genre of writing are you expected to produce in addressing these topics? There are 2 topics. There might be 3. I don't know in your COVID condition exams, but what genre of writing are you expected to produce to address these topics? Anyone?
That would be argumentative writing, sir.
For the first or second one?
The first one is argumentative writing.
Good.
The second one starts with debate. The second one says the debate rages on whether an academic or vocational qualification is more desirable. Therefore, this becomes an argumentative writing as well.
Good. Correct. You see, you have it clear in your mind that the type of writing I should do is to construct an argument. It's clear in your mind. The purpose is to do what? To persuade. Okay, it's clear in my mind. I'm going to have to be very persuasive when I write this. So I know the format of an argumentative writing. It's clear. I know what I'm going to do. So I choose, and I'm going to do exactly that. So thank you. Both they require that students would write and construct, or rather formulate an argument and support it. So the format, therefore, is very important. So you have read the topic carefully, and you have come to the conclusion what type of essay you should write. Very, very important. And then you can actually now that I know what type of essay, I can now move to the point where I now ask, what is it that I should then do with the topic? Which areas to focus on? Now I'm looking for my keywords that would guide me as to the content that I should focus on, etc. Students were asked similar such questions previously. That was in 2016. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. It's never easy with this module. Look at how tough this essay were to the students. I mean, look, academic, if the student doesn't really know doesn't have that vocabulary of what academic means, what vocational means, really it throws them off. You see how it is important for students to really be lifelong learners who read. because the vocabulary there, I'm trying to use context to unlock the meaning of academic, vocational, qualification. I know, okay, the word qualification in my analysis of the topic, the word qualification helps me to know, oh, there is different types of qualifications out there. So if it's academic, hopefully I know a bit of academic because I have attended to these tutorials. It has to do with university studies. And so it would then mean that this would be a qualification obtained through studies at university. Vocational, it's something different. What can I say about vocational? So it's not basically university related. And so what is it that it is requiring? Let's read further. It says, is it prudent to invest in academic qualification that will not necessarily secure employment? So I'm given further context. Or is it prudent to invest in skills-based training? Wow, there now it's starting to clear up. The mist is starting to clear up. The sun is starting to shine. And I now begin to realize, oh, vocational is to do with skills. So this is your FET kind of training. So there I have a picture. You see, I cannot just jump into writing. I engage with the topic. I know it's argumentative, but I also further analyze the topic so that I unpack and know what I am expected to do. I think that was some brain teaser that I wanted to. Then I'm moving back to my presentation. Thank you very much. I did not get your name, but thank you very much. You are quite correct. It is argumentative writing that you are expected to produce, and you need to choose a side. And having chosen the side, you then explain how that side, how important that side is, why the side is more important than the other. All right, so now I am exiting this slide. I'm hoping, students, this is helping you in understanding what we are doing here. And I'm sharing the presentation now. You are having expository essay on your screen, expository writing on your screen. So the next slide has to do with now writing an introduction of an expository essay. Writing an introduction, not of an argumentative, but of an expository essay. Think of these features. Now, when I read your introduction, I want to see these things in your introduction. What do I want to see? You begin your introduction with a thesis statement. Some students would place their thesis statement anywhere in their introduction. It's fine. They could even place it right at the end of their introduction. It's fine. As long as it is there. It has to be there. Now, you see, it expresses the thesis statement. That's what it does. It expresses the main topic of your entire essay right at the beginning. So you need to craft this thesis statement carefully, because it really informs the reader, giving the reader the picture of where you are going with this essay. So it expresses the main topic of your entire essay. It is the thesis statement, and we need to write a very, very good thesis statement of an expository essay. Thesis statement, now this is further elaborating on what a thesis statement is. It consists of the topic and the controlling idea. It must have that. Okay. Now, I want us to have it, and I want us to write it so that we don't neglect it. Now, what do I mean? If you are writing an introduction, students, did you write the introduction thinking that I must begin with a thesis statement? Or you were just writing because there is an introduction, we say, okay, it's the beginning part. Now I know I must begin. Or did you have the tools to begin your writing exercise with. The tools that should be used in putting together an introduction is very, very important, because you need to write from a particular, okay, I'll come back to that. But this thesis statement is very important, students, and this is what constitutes a thesis statement, a topic and that controlling idea. It should give, especially of an expository essay, it should give an idea of what the writer would do in the entire essay. And also, having written the thesis statement, what next in the introduction? So you see, your introduction is very systematic. It's not, let me not use the word systematic. It has to have certain qualities in it. It has to have certain qualities. I must tick off this in a checklist. I must tick off the thesis statement because it has it. I must tick off the background information or definitions because it has it. You see? So, yes, your introduction should have background information. Some students will go with background information. Right, this is background information on the topic. Other students decide to do definitions of key concepts in the topic. It's fine. They define the content words. They define the keywords, which are words that guide content selection for the essay. So they can go with definitions, or they could go with information, background information, or they could do it. They could do both. It's still fine, as long as I would be able to see that there is a thesis statement. I would see that there's background information. I would see that there's thesis, or definition, or either one or the other. And please don't include examples, because examples are part of the body paragraphs where you give details. Okay, so don't do that in the introduction. Now, a good introduction gives the reader information that summarizes the body of your essay. It gives information that summarizes the body of your essay. It gives the reader a way to predict the structure of your essay. A good introduction would do that. Now, practice makes perfect. It's one thing to say these points, it's totally another to apply. And so you want to do. I always believed that learning by examples is a perfect way of assisting ourselves to learn how something works. How something works. Give examples. Now we spoke about thesis statement. It's abstract. It's all in the mind. We spoke about background information, but what is this? I know what is background information, but what does it mean in the context or in the climate of an introduction? What does that mean? We spoke about a good introduction helps the reader summarize the body of your essay. What does that mean in application? Can the student do this by just merely reading this slide? I doubt. Maybe we can do it. Maybe we can try and do it. We do deductive and inductive learning. Sometimes we say, okay, let me see if I can do it. And let me just test these waters like that. Students, I'm going to test it that way. We are going to have to produce a product. And in producing this product, we produce the product based on the given information, okay? And we see if the product will be exactly as the information requires or the information says. When you have a recipe, yeah? Do I pronounce it recipe? Recipe. Okay, whichever way, but you know what I'm getting at. In the kitchen, mothers, sisters, they have these things, and they say a baking recipe has this things. They have 1 liter of milk, of water, salt, the content, the ingredients are shown there. Now, I want to produce this cake. I want to make this cake. Okay, I'm given information now, I want to do it. It doesn't necessarily mean that I have this information that I will really produce or get the exact thing that I am intending to, as guided by the recipe book. Now, students, I'm going to give you a topic. We're going to think of it that way, that we are making something out of the written information that we see on the screen. I'm going to give you topics. So, take a picture of this slide, writing an introduction. I'm going to give you an expository essay topic. I'm telling you it's expository essay topic, so it's not debatable. And having that topic, I want you to write an introduction. Did we do this in the past? No, we didn't. I want you to read. It must have the thesis statement. It might also have background or definition or both. And it should be a good summary of the body of your essay. And you have that slide. I can move away from it because I must give you now the topic. So before I give you the expected, the ideal introduction on the same topic, before I do that, let me test you so that we see and we are able to compare. Remember, this is learning by practice. So we want to test. Let me see. Right, students, here we have 2 topics. You don't see them on the slide, but it's the 2017 question paper. I may have sent it already to you. If I haven't, it's fine. I'm going to show it on the screen now, share it on the screen so that you can start working. All right, fine. There are the topics. Are they showing on your screen? I want you to work with the second one. Social maladies like crime, teenage pregnancy, illiteracy, HIV/AIDS are fundamental threats to any country's development. Discuss 2 of these issues, only 2, and illustrate how they potentially affect the development of a nation of your choice. Did we do this last week, students? No. Now, produce an introduction that is fit for purpose. My voice is echoing. That is fit for purpose. And then you are going to unmute yourself at the right time and present your expository essay introduction on that topic. Okay, I know. We are applying that slide, the slide on writing an introduction of an expository essay, students. Now, here, I'm asking you now, write an introduction for this essay topic. By the way, it's an expository essay topic. And so think carefully as you write the topic. There's nothing strange or big. It's just to write an introduction. So the choice in terms of the social maladies is yours. It's not mine. Because here you have to decide on any 2 of these issues and illustrate, not on all of them. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. So you choose any 2 of the 4 to focus on right through your essay. But then those 2 that you're working with should also be, it should be clear from the introduction which 2 you are going to discuss in the essay itself. I think I have addressed that concern. I want you to, in your presentation of your introduction, I want you to read a sentence or 2, depending on what those 2 sentences or 1 sentence is doing. Having done that, having read, you then tell us, you pause and tell us that that this is your thesis statement, and you then move to the background information or definition, and then you then move to, if you have any other thing, then you can actually indicate. But first you read it as a whole, and after reading it as a whole, you then analyze it using the information in that slide as a way of doing the analysis. Now, I hope I am clear there. And you read as a whole the introduction, and then you then come back to the same introduction and read it line by line, showing where your thesis statement is, etc. Then we can start the discussion there. I hope that I made myself clear on this particular instruction. Can you do that for us?
Okay, sir.
Good.
I've chosen, I hope there's no right or wrong. Okay, I've chosen teenage pregnancy and crime.
Good.
My introduction of teenage pregnancy. Teenage pregnancy is when a child or when a teenager from 11 to 20 years, or let me just say below 20 years, that has experienced periods and is engaged with unprotected sexual intercourse and falls pregnant. An experience. Okay. Sorry, I do stutter, but I'm trying to be strong and I'm trying to hold my stuttering. Okay, I defined teenage pregnancy as a result when a girl under the age of 20 years who has already experienced periods and was not on contraceptives or taking a concentrative pill method and is engaged with sexual intercourse, unprotected sexual intercourse with a male, and the child falls pregnant. That is my introduction of teenage pregnancy.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh.
And of crime, crime is when a person commits an illegal act in order to gain something, or a person is involved with drugs and they don't have money to buy those drugs, and they try to do illegal acts in order to find money to buy drugs. And it is also an act when a person comes from a poor family and is trying to help the family out to have all the means, like taking your siblings to school, and you don't have a job because of the rate of South Africa that there are no jobs at all. So the person does crime like stealing and doing all the bad things. Now my thesis was I've examined the teenage pregnancy as a way to try and fit in due to peer pressure, or trying to do what your friends are doing, being you have being you have older friends, or you're trying to be popular.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, thank you very much, Apire. I've noted your presentation on crime and teenage pregnancy in relation to the topic itself, and we want to keep that in mind, that presentation. Maybe all the students, if those who have been listening to Apiwe's presentation, I really want to thank you, Apiwe, for that. It's very clear and to the point. Thank you very much for that. But let's keep that in mind as we then take another student's presentation and at least have 2 presentations to work with. Appears and the other presentation that I'm going to request now.
Okay. I've chosen teenage pregnancy and HIV/AIDS. So my topic goes like this. Teenagers engaging in unprotected sex can lead to pregnancy and them contracting diseases such as HIV and AIDS, which are the social malaise that threatens our country's development. And then the second sentence is creating awareness around these 2 issues can help us enhance communities with skills to decrease the number of new cases. So I started with the definition of teenage pregnancy, of which I've said is teenagers having unprotected sex. Then the main topic here was how we can create awareness around these 2 issues, of which is to try and enhance our community members with skills.
All right. All right. Thank you very much, Katlego. Well said. Thank you very much for that. Really appreciate. And I also thank Apure for her presentation. Maybe if there is anyone who wants to volunteer their introduction, I will pause and allow for that. Any volunteers? No volunteer. Anyone?
Yes.
Okay, Innocent. Yes, Innocent.
Right. Mine goes like I chose crime and illiteracy.
Yes.
So crime and illiteracy are a threat to South Africa's development. Crime is a consequence of rules and laws of a nation that are broken. Breaking rules and laws disrupts law and order, which threatens peace and harmony. Usually, illiteracy boasts ignorance and greatly contributes to acts of criminality, thereby scaring establishment and expansion of business in a country.
Yes. Okay. Which part of your introduction would you consider to be Innocent? Your thesis statement?
It is crime and illiteracy are a threat to South Africa's development.
Okay, thank you for that. Which part of your introduction would you consider to be the background information on crime and illiteracy?
It is defining or clarifying what crime is.
Yes.
By indicating that it is the consequence of rules and laws of a nation that are broken.
Good.
And on the part of illiteracy, it was also in defining what it is. When I indicated that it is a result of, or it manifests in ignorance, which contributes to criminality.
Good. Good. Right. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Thank you, students. Thank you for the 3 presentation. Innocent, thank you very much. I am going to now show a slide of maybe an introduction that perhaps may not cut it, or it may, and we sort of compare this particular one with the introductions of Innocent and Apire, as well as Katlego. Okay, and we can sort of like say what is happening with those introductions as compared to this particular one that I am going to share now. Okay, thank you, students, for that. Now I am sharing this. You see, I asked, is there a thesis statement? Is there a definition or background information? And when I was listening to Apius, I heard the definition of crime. I think she dealt with crime, and also heard the definition, her definition of teenage pregnancy as well. You see, The other thing that I want to say is that when we write an introduction, we want to make sure that it satisfies all the requirements of an introduction. Not one requirement, but all of them. It has a thesis statement, it provides background or definition or both, and it also sort of like outlines, if you like, the summary of ideas that you are going to use in the essay. It should do that. Let's look at this one here. I'm not sure who's the student who wrote this one, but it's still on the same topic. I'm going to read this. Okay. Then, remembering what a thesis statement is, let's work with this. It says social maladies such as crime. Now, the student has chosen crime and teenage pregnancy. It says social maladies such as crime and teenage pregnancy. So he chose to deal with the social maladies that Appiah has chosen as well. Crime and teenage pregnancy are indeed a fundamental threat to the economic and social development of South Africa. So he chooses the country South Africa because it's any country of your choice. If you look here, it says a nation of your choice. So he chose South Africa to work with South Africa. South Africa is plagued by corruption and violent crimes such as armed robbery, carjackings, gender-based violence, and murder. The country is also grappling with a high number of school-going teenagers falling pregnant. Such maladies pose a serious threat to the economic and social development of South Africa. You saw it, you heard it. And let's get into the analysis. Does it satisfy in the requirements of an introduction? Now, I want to see if this introduction has a thesis statement consisting of the topic and controlling idea, and I also want to see if it gives some background of on the topic, or it provides definition if it doesn't give background, and that after reading the introduction, the reader would have now a good summary of that will help him or her predict what to expect in the body of the essay. Let's look at the analysis in the next slide. And now you realize the reason why I needed that extra 10 minutes. I wouldn't have done it next week because there would be a disconnect between this topic and next week. So let's look at the analysis. Social maladies such as crime and teenage pregnancies is highlighted green. So that's the topic. These words are taken from the topic. How so? Here it is. I'm now at the topic. Social maladies like crime, teenage pregnancy, But the question requires students to choose two. You see, two of these issues to illustrate how they affect the country's development. Now, the two from the topic have been chosen. Social maladies such as crime and teenage pregnancy is the topic, are indeed, this is the controlling idea, are indeed a fundamental threat to the economic social development of South Africa. Now, this is the controlling idea. In other words, the writer is going to show the different sides of the effect of teenage pregnancy to the development of South Africa, and show the different sides of the effects of crime on South Africa. Now, he's going to show different forms of crime and how those different forms of types of crime rather are affecting the development of South Africa, because he's discussing, all right? He says, yes, they are a complete threat to South Africa's development, but it's going to show you how these two, the different sides of teenage pregnancies, effects on the economy of the country, and also the same about crime. So indeed, the first sentence is qualifies as a what? It qualifies as a what is that? As a thesis statement, right? Because it does that. It has the topic in it and the controlling idea, giving us an idea of the flow or the direction that the topic, rather the essay, is going to take. And now, what about background information provided? Was it provided, or definitions provided? But here I have the black shade, which says no background information on these two is provided. No background information on crime is provided. No background information on teenage pregnancy. No definition either are provided. But what does the writer do? The writer has done this. Let's look at this. He has given information that summarizes the body of the essay, and it gives the reader a way to predict the structure of the essay as a whole. In other words, in background information, the writer would have given some background on crime, all right? The background on crime or background on teenage pregnancy. But what he does, he omits that. What he goes with is South Africa is plagued by corruption and violent crimes, such as it is to some extent, some bit of background. It does to some extent, not to a full extent, touch on background. But then let's look at it again. It says South Africa is plagued by corruption and violent crimes, such as armed robbery, carjackings, gender-based violence, and murder. All right. Now, what the writer has done, it is not an outright sort of background information on crime. By background information, the sort of beginnings and of crime, and perhaps more information, background that would give a very clear picture of what crime does, what crime is, or what crime does. But what he does, he has confined himself or herself to this, to giving the reader a good summary of what to expect in the body of the essay. What the reader would then know is that South Africa is plagued by corruption and violent crime, such as armed robbery, carjacking, gender-based violence, and murder. Now, in the body of this essay, of this student's essay, we would expect that the student would show how there must be a focus on armed robbery as an arm of crime or as an outlet of crime. Must be a focus on carjacking as an outlet of crime, and a focus on gender-based violence and murder. There would be a focus on each of these crimes, somehow show how car hijacking can contribute to what can be a threat to the country's development. Discuss first car hijackings, say maybe give us the statistics of car hijacking, give us the stats, and give us, having done that, give us the impact of this on the economy or on the social development of the country South Africa. You see, I expect that or in the discussion on car hijacking in the body of the paragraph, right? The scale of car hijacking in the country and the effects of car hijacking in the country. And the same with armed robbery. The scale of armed robbery in the country and the effects of armed robbery on the economy of South Africa, on social development of the country as well. And I expect on gender-based violence, how the nature of how is gender-based violence, the scale of this crime in the country, and the nature. When I say scale, I say nature. The nature of this crime in this country, and the effects thereof of this crime on the social and economic development of the country. Murder, all right, the same with murder. Now, coming to the side of teenage pregnancy, teenage pregnancy, of course, it's not subdivided. The writer does not subdivide it into different categories as he does with crime, but he treats it as just one aspect. Teenage pregnancy, I would expect that the student would do it, would give us sort of the magnitude of teenage pregnancy in the country, and the writer would then discuss the impact thereof of teenage pregnancy on the development of the country in the body of the essay. So I have an outline here of what to expect in the body of the paragraph. Pardon me, in the body of the essay. I would I'm expecting that crime would be dealt with in that way. Well, in terms of violent crime, would be dealt with in these kind of ways. The student might choose to deal with violent crime, which would include these types, in just one paragraph as violent crime. And still on violent crime, the student might feel that I do not want to go into details on armed robbery, on carjacking, on gender-based violence, on murder. I want to discuss them as crime and explain perhaps how this kind of crime is affecting the country's development. The choice is the students, but at least I have an idea, because there's going to be talks in the essay itself on these violent crimes, and the student may choose to elaborate further on each one of them, as indicated in the body of the essay. I also expect, tackling crime, that there would be another focus on, still on crime, on corruption, all right, that explaining the extent of it and also explaining how it deters or affects the country's development. So I expect that the student focus on that. And I also expect students focus generally on the teenage pregnancy and how it is in the country, what it does to the teenagers, and what it does to the country's development as such. So the outline is given, the focus is given, what the student has actually given us, what they are about in the essay as such. Although he hasn't given us the definition and more background information. And I think what the student has done is sort of like try to merge background with the ideas that they're going to use, to a summary of ideas that they're going to use in addressing the topic, in the body of the essay. The student has done that. So this is how they have chosen to do it. And now you can now think about your own introduction and say, have I done the same? And sort of like critique yourself based on this. And I really want to thank you, students, for sharing the expository essay intros with the rest of us. And thank you also for giving me, rather with the indulgence, with your indulgence, more time to really clarify certain issues here. And I would really like that we adjourn this meeting and refocus our attention once again on drafting next week. I think we're grappling with it, we're learning it. It will take some bit of time and practice, but ultimately our goal is to ensure that each one of us here are able to produce an introduction that is fit for purpose, an introduction that cuts the requirements, cuts into the requirements, or satisfies rather the requirements of an academic writing introductions. Thank you, students, for coming through.